Welcome back, viewers. You are still tuned into Prime Live. We are so privileged to welcome a dynamic and incredible individual by the name of Iman Ganiji. Now, she is the champion behind an incredible initiative called Sari for Change, which has championed sustainable fashion. Now, this is an incredibly unique and interesting concept, and I do look forward to finding out more about the initiative, or the cause rather, as well as how you can get involved. If you're into fashion, particularly sustainable fashion, please do stay tuned for our conversation. Iman, thank you so much for joining us on Prime Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
I mean, just listening about Sari for Change, I mean, it's such a unique, such a dynamic movement. I want to call it a movement because that's what sustainable fashion is for me. We need to be looking forward and looking at sustainable fashion as the way forward and the way future. And what a beautiful way to be able to, bring together our cultural heritage and sustainable fashion. But talk to us about the journey. What inspired you to start Sari for Change? Where did the journey, or how did it come about?
Well, firstly, Sari for Change, we upcycle the traditional sari to create one-of-a-kind garments, but we teach women how to sew and stitch, and they become our suppliers. To date, we've trained 120 women in garment making and business development skills, and we've saved 15,000 saris from landfill waste and upcycled 8,000 saris into unique garments. The process and the journey, well, I'm in the business with my mom, and she was gifted a sari by her grandmother, and she told her, you've got to do something with this. We've got to uplift our communities and ensure that women become self-sufficient. And so she was in the industry for 35 years, and she saw it as a valuable resource, and she knew that, we have to change the way, or the ills of the fashion industry. And so she pioneered Sari for Change. And it's been such an incredible journey. We're 10 years on. We've won multiple awards. It just keeps growing, and it is indeed a movement.
I love to see that, and I have to say, I love the piece you're wearing right now, and I love the whole concept of being able to save beautiful garments. Like, saris have such beautiful, intricate detail that you want to save, and perhaps they might be a bit more traditional in the style and might be not very current. So I love that you have this concept of being able to preserve those beautiful details that we know and recognize from a sari and making them into something new and fresh and exciting. Also, I'm a huge advocate for sustainability, and when it comes to climate action, I think it's such an important thing that we can do in our day-to-day lives to make sure we aren't contributing to the fast fashion industry and saving as many garments as possible from landfill. But now talk to us a bit more about, the significance of the traditional bridal sari, or a traditional sari, and why it's so significant for us to also, kind of hold on to the legacy, hold on to the memory. Sometimes perhaps it's of a family member. What is the importance and significance of us being able to reuse these traditional items in new ways?
So, as you all know, our grannies or aunties, we all have cupboards full of saris, and we wear saris to weddings, name givings, all the cultural events. And I think that as society becomes more westernized, and as the younger generation moves further into this westernized world, it's a way to preserve our identity in a subtle form. And also, I know that most Indian, I can maybe speak for myself, we don't wear saris as often, and we always maybe want to, but maybe feel like it's not as trendy or hip. And so it's a way to preserve who you are. And for me, it's like a covering, a cloak. I feel so celebrated, and a way to connect to my ancestors. And because of colonization and so many aspects in our history, I feel like our worth has been stripped from us. And it's a way to hold on to your worth and hold on to your identity in subtle ways. And so I always say, if you don't know where you're from, you won't know where you're going. And again, it's a way to cling to your identity.
I completely agree, and that was so beautifully said. I think the world we live in has become so westernized that we move so far away from who we are deep down, like you said. And this is a beautiful way to be able to reconnect with that very important heritage. We're so blessed and lucky to be able to have an opportunity to have such rich cultural heritage. And I love that you've brought about a concept that makes it palatable for the Gen Zs and the younger generation. So they're able to incorporate these beautiful, traditional, intricate details from saris into something modern like what you're wearing right now. And I love the message behind it, the fact that we get to carry these generations of women with us. And I know we all have, including myself, generations of older garments of Indian cultural heritage that are sitting in our closets, but they aren't necessarily up to date. But we want to honor those memories, those women in our lives, and be able to carry these garments forward is such a beautiful thing to do. And something that you touched on at the beginning of our interview, which I'm so inspired by, is, more than this being a movement when it comes to sustainable fashion, it is also a way to empower women and create employment and skills, uplifting women with skills in South Africa, which I think is so valuable and so important. We know that unemployment is a huge issue in our country, especially amongst women. Talk to us more about this wonderful and inspiring aspect of Sari for Change, that you use the opportunity to teach women these vital skills and have them part of the program by empowering them.
So the fashion industry is so exploitative. We wear a garment and we throw it away and it ends up in a landfill. But in South Africa, we don't have a labor force that's skilled. We don't have a garment industry. And so we saw that as, if we give someone a sewing machine and teach them how to fish, they'll be able to create their own businesses. And that's exactly what we have. We have 3 training hubs, one in Yeoville, Cosmocity, and Dobsonville. And it just keeps growing and garments keep churning out. And it's so lovely to see. But the women are taking ownership of their training hubs and they've started their own businesses. For example, we have a lady in Dobsonville who makes school uniforms and she sells it in her community. And so it's so important because you're adding to the fashion industry in South Africa, but also it's shedding a light on manufacturing in South Africa. We can build our own industry. We don't have to rely on China or the West. We can create our own industry. And so, again, it starts with teaching people basic skills.
No, that's incredibly inspiring. I really commend you and your mom for starting this incredible movement, this incredible business, and more than that. And the reason why I keep saying it is a movement, because you're changing mindsets, but you're also empowering and giving back to communities, which I love to see. And the fact that you have this platform and you're using it for good is absolutely inspiring. But what I also want to talk about is take us through the process of what it's like when you are manufacturing or creating or building something new out of older garments or older saris. For example, the one you're wearing right now.
So the saris are donations. We get saris in buckets full. And for us, that's the mandate. It's such a sacred exchange. Someone has gifted us with these saris and they're saying, well, I'm gifting it to you and our mandate is to train women. But anyways, it comes to the sari and we have this beautiful, they're 6 meter in length, and we obviously go through the process of washing and, looking at the flaws in it. And then we lay it on the cutting table and we look at the palu, which is the showstopper of the actual sari. And we're like, hey, what can we do with that? Where should we put it? Like for me, this is the palu on this side of the garment. And it's like my mom, because she's in the design process as well. She talks to the saris, what do you want to become? And we have 5 different designs. Well, we have our 5, middle income designs, and then we have our design and bespoke, and it's such a creative journey because each one is one of a kind, and so it's different fabrics, different silks, chiffons, organza, mesh, lace, banarasi, bandani, different types of saris. And so you have to honor that each one has a story, and so we try and build these collections and try and hero that story. This sari came from Gujarat in India, and it is known for the tie-dye process. And so we try to bring that into our story. But again, it's we lay it on the cutting table, okay, what is the story we're going to tell with this and what are we going to make it into? And I can't really give you a process because it's such an intuitive thing. You go with the flow and you receive the saris and they're all so different. And so it's more of an in-moment process.
So each garment has its own journey and its own process going forward on what it's going to become after, from the raw material, what it's going to become.
Some of them have milk beads on them, or we've started incorporating African beading because we want to bring the African element into it. And I was born in Kenya, and my dad is Yemen, and my mom is Malay and Indian, and I've witnessed this fusion of culture. So it's always trying to bring different elements of those cultural experiences into the garment.
I love to see that. And I love how you talked about how the different fabrics and the different styles represent different parts. And I love that you shared your heritage as well. And I think there's so many South Africans out there and so many people in our audience who can relate to having that mixed heritage and feeling a sense of belonging to more than one place and to more than one culture. I love the concept of being able to incorporate both African and Indian influence in designs as well.
Exactly. Thank you. But it's also just like the sari is not just for the Indian community. We have upcycled it, and now everyone can wear it and feel beautiful and celebrate it. And that really is the story. We're celebrating evolving identities and multiculturalism and diversity.
Now, more importantly, I don't think our viewers at home would ever forgive me if I didn't give you an opportunity to actually share how can our viewers at home get in touch with you, whether that be, wanting to create a bespoke piece or donating saris. How do we get in touch with you? How do we get in contact?
Thank you. So we have our website. It's www.sariforchange.co.za, and our Instagram page, and all our email addresses are on there. So feel free to reach out to us. And, we take donations with saris, and yes, these are the garments we make. So thank you.
In closing, if you had an opportunity to address a message to our viewers at home when it comes to the importance of sustainable fashion and also preserving your cultural heritage, what would that message be?
I'd say that you're so worthy, and to possibly look to your family's closets and see what you can make from them, because as much as we are pioneering this space, we also are educating people of what conscious consumerism is. And you've got saris in your cupboard, go play with it. Or you've got different fabrics within your different cultures, go play with it and go on this journey to understand where you come from.
That was very beautifully said. I think our younger generations are moving into a better mindset. We are seeing more people thrifting, learning and understanding how to give older garments new life again. And I think this is a very vital and important conversation. But thank you so much for sharing with us. Thank you for sharing the journey and this incredible, incredible movement with us. I know our viewers at home are going to enjoy learning more and getting in touch with you on your social media platforms as well to create more change. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Viewers at home, that was Iman from Sari for Change. Please do reach out to them on their social media platforms. Head over to their website if you are interested in donating saris, or like she said, if you have some older garments from your aunts or your mom or your grandmother that are sitting in your closet and you would love to give them new life, please do also contact them and reach out to them on their social media platforms. Remember, organizations like this need our support so they can continue to do the amazing things that they do. More importantly, the empowerment program behind this that is upskilling and empowering women across South Africa, they definitely need your support. But please do engage with us on our social media platforms as well. We would love to hear from you. If you have any questions for Iman, please do also share them with us. But on that note, it is time for us to head over to an ad break, and we'll come right back.